Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Poetry Thursday. I've received a number of requests about topics that I might cover in Poetry Thursday episodes, and several of them have to do with different aspects of nature. And one of those was poetry of trees, and I thought that I would devote today's episode to the poetry of trees. I could easily do several episodes on the poetry of trees, but I just picked a few to get this started today. It's hard to talk about poetry about trees without including the most famous, probably the most famous American poem written about trees. And this is Joyce Kilmer's poem simply entitled Trees. Kilmer was an early 20th century poet. He was a journalist and a literary critic and a poet, and he was killed in World War I. But this is certainly his most famous poem, and I think children throughout the years have memorized this poem. Trees by Joyce Kilmer. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair. Upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Next, Loveliest of Trees by A.E. Housman. Loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough, and stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Eastertide. Now, of my 80 years and 10, 20 will not come again, and take from 70 springs a score, it only leaves me 50 more. And since to look at things in bloom, 50 springs are little room, about the woodlands I will go to see the cherry hung with snow. I'm going to, in the near future, devote a whole episode to the poetry of Robert Frost, but he's another one who, he writes frequently about nature and has many famous poems about trees. Today I'm going to read Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Next, I'm going to read a series of 3 sonnets that make up Lloyd Schwartz's poem, Leaves. Leaves. 1. Every October it becomes important, no, necessary, to see the leaves turning, to be surrounded by leaves turning. It's not just the symbolism to confront in the death of the year, your death, one blazing farewell appearance, though the irony isn't lost on you, that nature is most seductive when it's about to die, flaunting the dazzle of its incipient exit, and ending that, at least so far, The effects of human progress, pollution, acid rain, have not yet frightened you enough to make you believe is real. That is, you know this ending is a deception, because, of course, nature is always renewing itself. The trees don't die. They just pretend, go out in style, and return in style, a new style. 2. Is it deliberate how far they make you go, especially if you live in the city, to get far enough away from home to see not just trees, but only trees? The boring highways, road signs, high speeds, 10-axle trucks passing you as if they were in an even greater hurry than you to look at leaves. So you drive in terror for literal hours, and it looks like rain or snow, but it's probably just clouds. Too cloudy to see any color? And you wonder, given the poverty of your memory, which road had the most color last year. But it doesn't matter, since you're probably too late anyway, or too early. Whichever road you take will be the wrong one. And you've probably come all this way for nothing. 3. You'll be driving along depressed when suddenly a cloud will move and the sun will muscle through and ignite the hills. It may not last, probably won't last, but for a moment the whole world comes to, wakes up, proves it lives. It lives. Red, yellow, orange, brown, russet, ochre, vermilion, gold. Flame and rust, the permutations of burning. You're on fire. Your eyes are on fire. It won't last. You don't want it to last. You can't stand anymore, but you don't want it to stop. It's what you've come for. It's what you'll come back for. It won't stay with you, but you'll remember that it felt like nothing else you've felt, or something you felt that also didn't last. And finally, I'm going to read To the Fig Tree on 9th and Christian by Ross Gay. Tumbling through the city in my mind without once looking up, the racket in the lugwork, probably rehearsing some stupid thing I said or did, some crime or other. The city, they say, is a lonely place until, yes, the sound of sweeping, and a woman, yes, with a broom, beneath which you are now too, the canopy of a fig, its arms pulling the September sun to it. And she has a hose too, and so works hard, rinsing and scrubbing the walk, lest some poor sod slip on the silk of a fig and break his hip, and not probably reach over to gobble up the perpetrator. The light catches the veins in her hands. When I ask about the tree, they flutter in the air, and she says, "Take as much as you can, help me." So I load my pockets and mouth, and she points to the stepladder against the wall to mean more. But I was without a sack, so my meager plunder would have to suffice. And an old woman whom gravity was pulling into the earth loosed one from a low slung branch, and its eye wept like hers, which she dabbed with a kerchief as she cleaved the fig with what remained of her teeth. And soon there were 8 or 9 people gathered beneath the tree, looking into it like a constellation, pointing. Do you see it? And I am tall and so good for these things. And a bald man even told me so when I grabbed 3 or 4 for him, reaching into the giddy throngs of yellow jackets, sugar-stoned, which he only pointed to, smiling and rubbing his stomach. I mean, he was really rubbing his stomach, like there was a baby in there. It was hot. His head shone while he offered recipes to the group, using words which I couldn't understand. And besides, I was a little tipsy on the dance of the velvety heart rolling in my mouth, pulling me down and down into the oldest countries of my body, where I ate my first fig from the hand of a man who escaped his country by swimming through the night, and maybe never said more than 5 words to me at once, but gave me figs, and a man on his way to work hops twice to reach, at last, his fig, which he smiles at and calls baby. "Come here, baby," he says, and blows a kiss to the tree, which everyone knows cannot grow this far north, being Mediterranean and favoring the rocky, sun-baked soils of Jordan and Sicily. But no one told the fig tree or the immigrants there is a way the fig tree grows in groves it wants, it seems, to hold us. Yes, I am anthropomorphizing. God damn it, I have twice in the last 30 seconds rubbed my sweaty forearm into someone else's sweaty shoulder, gleeful, eating out of each other's hands on Christian Street in Philadelphia, a city like most, which has murdered its own people. This is true. We are feeding each other from a tree at the corner of Christian and 9th. Strangers, maybe, never again. So that's some poetry about trees. As always, I thank you for listening. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.